Okay, it is 6:02, I guess, on March 3rd, and we are going to start the Facilities Committee meeting. Tamara Twardowski is present, along with Larry Speed, Brian Doty, Mary Beth Torsha, and we also have Paul Tui with us this evening, and there's two members in the audience. I had asked Paul to come speak with us this evening. I actually received his name through Andrew, and Paul works with industrial and commercial, I guess, leasing and selling. So I had called him to see if he'd come in and talk to us about the potential for leasing the APC building, and maybe what we might be able to expect out of that. So with that, I will, I think, turn the floor over to you. And if you have questions, he did say that really it's not, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, it's not necessarily your area of specialty, but you can kind of give us an overview. And if we decided we did want to lease the building, you could probably help us identify somebody to work with. So,
yeah, I'd be happy to help your group out in any way. But my background is I work for a company called CBRE. We're a global commercial real estate firm, and I specialize in industrial property. So in the area here, we previously worked on really one of the only other industrial buildings right in Douglasville, which is the Kiwi building, or where Howard Custom Manufacturing was, and then more recently Cosmetic Essence. We've sold that in the past. We've leased up the lab building there, so we have an idea. And in the past, actually, I lived in Douglasville for about 9 months. So I do know where this building is, and speaking with Tamara and get an understanding of what you're looking to do. It is not what I do. Again, I'm more traditional in manufacturing and warehouse distribution. However, a good bit of what I do is geared towards redevelopment and repositioning of real estate. So I understand what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish with the building. I guess the first thing I would say is when you're looking to reposition a building like this, the ideas that you probably have are it's a school, it's offices, it's some nonprofit organization that can move in there. So in that regard, I think you have some options. With that said, this is really what I would consider to be a special purpose building. And that sort of makes things a little more challenging. But the keys that we see today in sort of redevelopment and repositioning of real estate are making sure that the code compliance issues are addressed. Does it have an elevator? Is it sprinkled? Are the bathrooms Americans with Disabilities Act compliant? These are things that in any building that we go into today, we take a notice of, and then of course you start kind of lowering the price from there. But any company today is going to have to, unless they can take the space as is, where is, and the code allows that, it will require work. So, I think your uses are going to be somewhat limited here as to what you can do. But at schools, probably offices, maybe it's a medical office. But these are things that, again, you've got to evaluate. Is it worth the time, effort, and money to put into it to reposition the asset?
Can you comment on rezoning?
Case by case, really, with every single community you go into, and it's all really based on what people need in the community. So if you've got a community void of any industry, you're probably going to be more inclined to allow industry to come in. If you've got too much, then you've got plenty of retail, you've got plenty of rateables, you probably will be a little bit tighter with the way you do things. So in this case, I can't really speak directly to the community at large, in the way they normally handle things, but other than retail and residential, there's not a whole lot of commercial, real estate in Amity Township.
Right. So you think, just at a first blush, it's offices of some type?
I do, yeah. Yeah, I do.
Medical, something else?
Office, medical, maybe it's schools, some other school-related use, nonprofit use.
Right.
I can see a nonprofit organization of some type saying, hey, if we can get office space on a lower cost basis, if there's any kind of subsidy they can get there, that would be an option. But again, I think it goes back to the code issues and what you're going to be obligated to do.
There's no elevator in that building.
There is none.
I
No.
don't think
No.
so.
Is that code for a building like this? I mean, is that something that needs to be?
It's multi-story, right?
Correct, 3 stories.
If you took it as is, you could, I mean, this is me saying it, I defer to any code official in the room.
Right,
But
sure.
I would think as is, you probably have a better chance of getting in there, and if you have any work, you probably will need to put an elevator in.
From my perspective, because I kind of do this a little bit, any money that's spent on improvements, I mean, if it's the same use and there's no improvements to the building, you can leave it as is. When you start to make improvements to the building, there's a percentage, and I don't know what I don't know if it's 20% or what, but say you spend $1 million, you have to spend a certain percentage of that on ADA improvements.
Right.
So, as long as you leave the building untouched, the code may not make you change anything. But once you start spending money changing things, or if they're going to retrofit stuff, and the thing that I'm not sure of, and I could find this out, I didn't think to ask my code officer, but if you're changing the use, that may trigger something different as well.
Right.
I can see that.
Right.
So, and I know too, and I'm not sure. I mean, for example, we had a building that just sold. It was a restaurant, and somebody bought it at auction, and they thought, well, they could come right in and they want to make it a retail location, and they could bring in their antiques and set up an antique store because it was okay to have a restaurant. And I don't necessarily understand it all, but it's a different building. It's a different building code group under L&I. So they had to do a whole architectural study to make sure that the building met the requirements of a retail as opposed to a restaurant. But you wouldn't think they'd be that much different, but apparently they are, and they had to do all kinds of fire rating between the floors and that kind of thing. So
I believe it.
Is there a sprinkler system in this building?
I don't know the answer to that question, honestly, and I
Right,
can
Ken,
find out.
question.
But I would think that we would have to have something in there in order to be compliant to have a school. So, period of renovating it or not, I would imagine.
Is there
that
one in
we-
Monocacy? Just curious.
I would think
so.
in Monocacy.
With a brand new-
That's newer.
I just don't know with the age that I don't know when
I don't know if there
APC
is
was
or
originally
not.
built.
How old is APC?
Yeah, but it's not how old it is, it's the fact that it was also rehabbed recently. So it
Right,
should
but
have-
depending on what, again, they have to spend so
Yeah.
many improvements or so much to bring it up to code. I don't know. You would think it would have had an elevator too, if it was just if somebody
Yeah.
just spent $9 million.
When was it? I was going to ask, when exactly was it renovated?
It was renovated in either 2009 or 8. I started with us in, I'm pretty sure 8, 9. I was at AEC and APC was still open. So I think it was 2009, 2010 school year that the renovation took place because that's when Monocacy was finished, and we could move. We had space over there to roll the kids into.
That makes
And
sense.
there's no elevator. in
No.
that.
I don't know that you can put an elevator in that building. I mean, I guess.
I think on the outside, Kenny said, on the far wall, you can do it from the outside and it would be built
Yeah.
up in order
You're
to,
building another structure onto the
Right.
building.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, our experience in the industry is similar to what you just said. If you took, and again, it's no guarantee, but if you took the space as is, chances are you can pretty much occupy it. In looking at the floor plan here, assuming this was office, what we see today is everybody wants everything open, windows, natural light, everything. So
Yeah.
there's probably a pretty darn good chance that whomever you would lease this to would need to have significant improvements to get the space in their own condition. So I would assume you would probably open up a number of code issues, but again, it's all dependent on who you could lease it to and what they choose to do with it.
Okay.
So this is this would fall under MB Township purview as far as code.
Correct.
And all that, right?
I do believe I read something in the minutes a few months back that when they were doing, I think they did like something similar to the LERTA with an area, and I thought when I was reading the minutes for that, I saw that this could also be, it's zoned residential. I believe, with an institutional use probably. But I don't know that you'd want to use it.
For like apartments or
Well,
something?
yeah, because oftentimes schools are built. I mean, an institutional overlay is usually allowed in any district, zoning district. So,
Makes sense.
but I don't. Do you want to market it for residential? I mean, the residential market sort of is saturated anyway. Plus, do you want more houses for the schools? I
You
don't
could
know.
certainly, going back to what you just said, look at this as apartments. I didn't bring it up, but it makes sense that you would look at something like this as a conversion, but that's
Age-restricted apartments.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well,
Well, I think that would be more appropriate. Because
It would probably still need a lot of work, I would imagine.
probably would be if the bones are in place. And I think
Yeah.
that's the key. I mean, the bones of this are in place for anything that's, ceiling heights of 9 to 10, 11, 12 feet, which is more office-oriented, residential-oriented. But you're probably still going to have to make a lot of the same improvements. But, a developer would likely, if you're going residential, it would probably mean selling it.
right.
But a developer probably would take a look at it from that perspective.
Okay, it definitely has the sprinkler system.
Oh, nice.
It does?
Good.
Interesting.
yeah, I thought so. My thoughts on it would be that the most immediate, easiest conversion, besides offices, would be senior housing, or not assisted living, but personal care living,
Okay.
where the classrooms become suites. The kitchen is a kitchen for everybody. The gym, my God, it would just be wonderful to have dances and everything in there and use the gym that way. I mean, the cafeteria, the library is a gathering space, and so forth. I mean, the rooms are too big to be used as rooms, but they could be suites. And, of course, it doesn't matter what you do. Anything that you do is going to require renovation of some sort. And they do have a lot of light. I was in the building, and you've been in the
I was in there when they reopened it.
yeah, the classrooms have a lot of light, but the walls are all windows. That part's really nice. If you went to senior type setup, you would need, of course, an elevator. And I truly don't know the price of elevators. I got a price on one for in-home, just a lift. But this would take a commercial, a full-size elevator. So, I mean, what is your expertise in the market as far as what do you specialize in category-wise?
Sure. I specialize more in industrial real estate, and a lot of times we'll work on projects that are reuses, special purpose, like buildings that were set up for one purpose, and that purpose is long past, and now you look at it and say, what do you do with it? We spend a lot of time working on sites like that, in buildings like that. For instance, one of the sites that we've worked on is over in Pottstown, which is in Montgomery County, Arm & Hammer Boulevard. There was a Firestone tire complex, massive complex. We worked with the ownership over the course of 7 years and turned it around. We went from virtually no tenants to a fully leased industrial park with hundreds of jobs. So,
Okay, when you talk about are you talking about, I mean, do you, I apologize for being late. But
He did. I'm sorry. He did say that if you just want to real quick your
Sure.
background again,
Yeah.
just so. Yeah.
Now, I did get a
Okay.
I mean, a little bit of. I expected you tonight,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
No. I've been working with a company called CBRE. We're a global commercial real estate firm for 13 plus years. My focus is in industrial real estate manufacturing, again, special purpose facilities where we, look for reuses of existing facilities. So that's what I've done. I know Andrew. We've handled plenty of transactions in and around Berks County, Montgomery County, Chester County, really all around Philadelphia as well as outside. In Douglasville in particular, I've sold as part of a team the Kiwi facility, which is referred to as, and we've leased up the lab facility there twice. We've handled sites Exeter where was AMT, was American Manufacturing Tool, I think, and then it became Tyco. That was a site we sold to another company out of California. So we work on, again, special purpose facilities and industrial facilities all on the 45th
Okay,
corridor.
well, but my question, I guess, is do you just work as a broker, brokering deals between people, or do you work as a facilitator in actually going in and doing anything that would maybe remap how you could use a facility?
So I am with a brokerage firm. That's what we do. We put buyers, sellers, tenants, landlords together.
Right.
We'll also do consulting work. But in terms of putting together a plan, we could assist.
Okay, but you don't do that. That's not part of your.
No.
Okay, I didn't expect you did, but I was just curious. And the other question is, do you you work on a commission, of course?
We do.
And because do you work as other realtors on a commission basis? I mean, no sale, no commission.
Correct.
And I don't think you were here for this. We're not necessarily looking. He had said that this isn't really his specialty, and
okay.
What I had done, Andrew had put me in touch with him because he thought he could maybe give us some information and background, and not necessarily looking to be the person to do it, but he thought he could maybe put us in touch with some people that could.
Oh, that's
so.
I'm happy to.
It was really, he was willing to come out and talk to us at no cost to give us some background and some information,
Well,
and so I jumped on it.
Yeah, well, that's great. But the other thing, the other thing is for both of us, it never hurts to have your luck lines out there. I mean, tomorrow you could turn around and run into somebody that needs a facility like this. The other thing is, of course, you just never know. So the more input we get and the more information you have on what's available, the better it is for both of us.
And depending on which way you go, if you hired somebody, people can hire their friends, they can hire family members, but they may not be the right people.
Of course.
So,
they're the worst people.
So,
because you can't fire them.
You said that.
Andrew's a friend, and I'd be happy to help anybody who,
It's not the hiring; it's the firing.
It's the firing.
Of relatives.
Well, the goal is not to have to fire.
Right, exactly.
But I'd be happy to help in kind of the vetting process. You want to make sure you get with somebody who's got experience. Not just because they've got a card that says they're a licensed realtor. I mean, have they done work in the community? Do they know the community? Have they ever done any work in the community that's required zoning changes? Like you were saying, have they ever worked on any complex redevelopment transactions? Somebody who's selling homes primarily could be very good at this, but maybe they're not.
No,
So
they're not.
So this isn't something your firm would be interested in? Like, this isn't something that you guys would work in or would be interested in? Or is that...
It's traditionally not what we do.
Okay. Yeah.
But, we have folks in our organization who do handle multifamily transactions, generally speaking. Those are sites that are either zoned, fully approved, and ready to have a shovel in the ground to build apartment complexes or condos.
Okay.
Or they're existing, they're X amount of percentage leased, and that seller wants to monetize the asset.
Right.
In this case, I will tell you that the best advice I can give you is, understanding, one, what your uses are for it. And I think we just laid out a few. And two, understanding who you're going to bring in to handle this asset, which again is somebody you want to be proactive and who's got contacts not only in the commercial industry but also in the apartments, residential, multifamily. I think this is more of a local, regional play than it is a more like when I say regional, it's a couple counties that are going to look at it. It's not state by state. It's not Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey. It's probably somebody in Berks County who knows this community, may grow up here, knows the lay of the land, and can do something with it.
Let me ask you a question. I'll just kind of throw this out to everybody too, just as an idea. Would it be smart for us to just go talk to somebody over at Amity Township with respect to the rezoning,
Probably.
of us and the use of this
What would you like to
take
know? I
that
have an
call?
appointment with the zoning
Absolutely.
officer tomorrow morning.
The worst thing that I see people do in this industry is to try to do things that will cause, that
yeah.
building's been there for a long time. People know it's there, and they probably want to know what's going to happen with it. Always talk to the municipality first. Tell them what you're going to do,
Or what we're thinking about
what you're
doing.
thinking about doing, and the best question you can ask is, what do you want to see here?
There you go, Suzanne.
Yeah, because I have an appointment with the zoning officer for something else.
Yeah, it's fine if you want to speak to him, and I know Chaz, who's the manager. I mean, I think between the two, you can feel them out and see what they think. And
I can tell you on a first-hand basis, we've got a site, not in this area, but it's a pretty high-profile site in a community nearby. And 3-4 days before the company announced they were relocating the operation, we went to the community and said, here's what you're probably going to see. And they were appreciative that we did it up front, and we asked the question, what do you want to see? And they told us exactly what the community needs, and it wasn't just all industrial, and it wasn't, all office. But it was like, we probably don't need any more of this, we don't need any more of that. And every use that we've ever taken to them on that site that looked like it had, made sense, they were an open book with, and that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
Why don't you make that 1A on the agenda for when you end up meeting with them?
Yeah, it depends on what you're asking for there.
right. Well, and I think part of that though is going to depend too on whether the board wants to keep the asset or and lease it or sell it, because the only way you can really go residential or some type of that, is if you sell it, I would think. Otherwise, you're really looking at more of a.
Well, I guess that begs the question, right? Would we be better off getting out of the leasing business and selling it off?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of questions around that, though. One is you got debt service on it. It's that you're going to be paying for 20 years.
Right.
And with the cost, is the price that you're going to command for the building going to be able to pay off your debt service?
Right.
And here's the second problem. I don't believe we can pay the debt service off early. I don't think if we say we get
can't
$9 million,
advance
I don't think we can go to the bank and pay off the bonds. I don't think. We'd have to confirm.
Because it's a bond.
Right. So now you got to have that money in the bank, right? And you can say, well, okay, that's reserved specifically for debt, but I don't know, 3 years comes down the road and we're not here anymore, and you got a new board, and they're like, we got $5 million in the bank. We don't have a problem. Exactly. So that I think, or they'll think, we have this money, we can build another new stadium, whatever. Whatever the. And then the other question is, what if you need another school 10 years down the road?
True.
Yeah.
That gives us
So-
that flexibility if we.
What if you need another school in a year?
Well, or right.
How many acres is the site?
I gotta.
I can tell you how many square footage the building is, but I can't tell you the acres. There's a nice
it's not really
cemetery
that
right in
big.
front of it.
It's a very compact.
And that might be another issue from a zoning. I forgot about this.
Cemetery's right there, and the through road is private. It's considered, district property,
Yeah.
Boone Drive, but I couldn't tell you the
I
acres.
bet, I'm guessing, which is bad.
With the parking and the playground,
6-7 acres maybe?
It's not much more than the building and the parking.
that would probably be max.
I don't think.
Because
It's not like it's-
the cemetery certainly isn't a part of it.
Right.
And,
then you have the other complex. So.
yeah,
5, 6, 7 acres.
yeah.
Something like that.
So there's a lot of factors to try to consider in the selling and leasing. I wouldn't hold you to this, but what's an average price per foot for office in this economy?
Sure. Well, it goes back to the location.
Right.
And it goes back to the demand. And in Douglasville, there's probably not a big demand for office space outside of, somebody who's got their own accounting business or somebody who's got their own, insurance business they're running out of their house.
Right.
So I would tell you, and we just had this, it was funny on the way up, I had this discussion on the project. And, you're probably $10 a square foot.
Per month, right?
Max. No, we would talk on an annual basis.
Yeah.
And that's
Annual basis.
inclusive of operating expenses. So your taxes, which, in this case, I don't know how that would work since it's owned, but you'd be renting it out to other uses. So I think it's tax exempt now, but maybe it wouldn't be.
67,808 square foot.
I mean, I'd say $10 a foot all in, which essentially works out to, when you include operating expenses, $5 a square foot triple net, meaning, your operating expenses on top of that rent. So it's not going to be a lot of money, but it's probably enough that here's the other thing. So it's going to take you a long time. I mean, there's nothing that's going to happen overnight here.
Right.
And like if you went and you had to go for a zoning change to anything, if you had any kind of work that needs to be done, it's
90
going to
days.
take time.
Yeah.
And, if you had to change the zoning to residential, it could be an 18-month to 2-year process before you even know you're going to sell it.
Right.
Because what will end up happening is developers will come in, they'll put a deposit down, but they're not going to take the risk until they know they can get what they want to get.
Seen that happen in Amity a lot.
Sure. And that's just the way that particular
Right.
business goes.
Yeah.
But, those are things you have to weigh is, time and effort and time value of money.
Yeah.
Well, now you said when you leased the Kiwi building before, or tried to lease it before you sold it,
We
or
represented, there's a lab facility next door. We've put 2 tenants in that facility over the last
What are they
10
building
years.
back?
I don't know exactly. There was
Huge
an interest
building.
for an industrial park back there, but
Huge thing.
Yeah, I don't know the latest on it.
Well,
But,
that's part of American Crane.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, American Crane was expanding there, but I thought there was an industrial park that I think was to be built.
I didn't think it looked. I just saw it from a residential area. I looked over and saw these.
Yeah,
This framework up.
they're
It's huge.
a good company. You go to a lot of buildings to see their cranes.
I just wonder what, like when you were trying to lease their office space, was there a price that was set for that, or rough?
No.
No.
So
And ironically,
Yeah.
I think you had told me that the only potential tenant you had that walked through it in a
Yeah.
year was Daniel Boone School District.
Yeah.
So-
Really?
yeah. So
So-
when we worked on that project, that was, you look at it, it's a manufacturing facility. There is office upstairs, it's great office space, but there's just no office market. And that's one of the things you'll be dealing with here. So, I mean, it's, if you can do it, you've got the time to do it, and you can get all the code issues right, and then you can sit there and wait for the right tenants, you're fine. But there'd be a very good chance you could go ahead, do a lot of the work necessary, and still wait a long time.
Yeah. I think we should find out, like you said, Tammy. You said, talk to the code people over there, what do they want to see? That'll drive us in one direction.
Because I'm thinking, just from the municipal background, most of the time you don't want to see more housing.
Well, of course, because that costs us more money. More kids.
Right. So, I mean, my experience too has been that even the age restricted has kind of dried up a little bit. There's just there's so much of it, and the people they're not selling their own houses to be able to move into it. So.
And it's outrageously expensive.
And it is, yes. It's. I don't even know people that can afford those kinds of places. So, all right. Did anybody have any other questions for Paul or no?
I'm good.
No, I thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much.
As you can see, every little input, I mean, I always figure when you get a group of people together, if you just get one small idea from each person, you really are ahead of the game,
If we did decide that we wanted to try to lease other sites, how would you suggest that we would then proceed?
If you wanted to hire somebody to market for you,
Yeah.
Understand, who these people are and what they've done. Is it somebody who's going to put a sign on the building and just walk away, which happens all the time? Is it somebody who's got, again, experience in this community? That's a big deal. In commercial real estate, some of the larger stuff that we'll do, you want to have experience in a wider area. But this is a local community deal. I think it's a county deal. You want to have somebody who's got experience in Berks County. You want to make sure that your property is not one of 70 that they're marketing, that particular person. Make sure it's got some focus.
Somebody's gonna work for it.
Yeah. I mean, you want somebody who's motivated. And what I typically find whenever it's something we cannot handle for somebody for one reason or another, whether it be conflict of interest or something else, you always try to direct your customers and clients in a way that you would want to be directed if, so it's really, interview, meet the people, and don't just hire somebody because of a relationship.
Yeah. Good point.
We're getting good at interviewing, aren't we?
Yeah, right.
If you read the paper, you probably don't read the Reading Eagle, but we're interviewing and hiring everybody.
A lot of people. A lot of people.
When you get superintendents?
Or business managers.
Or business managers.
Or IT directors.
I'm sure there's a lot of business managers out there.
No, there's not.
No.
No.
Well, Paul, thank you very
Yeah, no
much.
problem.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Elaine.
you.
Any help I can provide, I'm happy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Good to meet you.
I'll walk over there.
And I said one small idea, but you gave us a lot of ideas. I didn't mean to diminish.
Hopefully, hopefully, and any help I can provide, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you.
Thanks much. Take care.
Thank you. Sorry, we shut that up. I apologize.
You must have warm hands now.
He does.
All
I
right.
crank the heat up to make sure.
I guess realistically, I mean, on that standpoint, we can I can kind of do a summary of what he talks about.
No,
But
that's
to-
fine.
No, for the board.
Oh, for the board. Yeah.
And let them know that. But again, I think it's, and we can talk to Amity and see what they'd like to see, but I think, a lot of it's going to depend on whether they want to lease or try to sell it. And
Well, I think if we want to talk to Amity, I think we would have to go to a township meeting. Don't you?
Can we
well, you
approach
can
them
feel.
informally?
No, you can. I
sure
mean,
you
you can
can.
feel
Sure
the
you can.
managerialities. I mean, I have people call me all the time and say, we're looking at this site. We'd like to do X. What do you think? And it's like, yeah, they're not going to go. I mean, like, you can do it if you want, but good luck. Or, oh yeah, they'd probably be receptive to that. I mean, so you can do that
Yeah,
informally.
I know.
But
I'll do that tomorrow when
so
I talk to him.
but like I said, I mean, he can tell us. I mean, they can tell us what it's zoned. So, for example, if it's zoned residential, you can put houses there. It's how much. I mean, you have that right. It's how much are they going to put you through in the land development process if they really don't want it.
How much are they going to ring you?
Right. So you're not, if they don't want it, you're not going to get waivers. You're not going to get, those kinds of things. So, and then again, we have to look at really what, if say the debt service is $10 million and you get 4, is it worth it? I don't know.
Exactly.
So
Right.
if we could lease it to River Rock or somebody else, and it can grow, and you can use that revenue to pay off the debt service every year, you're not really any further behind, and you still have the asset in case you need it.
Do you know
So
how much it costs us a year?
Are we
Debt
have to
service on that?
discuss the River Rock situation?
yeah, I just want to touch briefly on it. I mean, and then we're also going to talk about it in revenue enhancement.
Yeah, they tie together for sure.
But do you want to give an update on where you're at with River Rock? Just you have a meeting. I think.
River Rock has agreed to meet with me on Wednesday of this week, and Dr. Sanker. Andrew also wanted to be invited, and any other board member that wants to participate. 10:30 district office, and we're going to discuss them leasing. Well, they currently have a lease with us for the next year, and
The status of that.
right,
Okay.
exactly.
And that, again, I mean, that's something, honestly, I kind of expected it would come out of it, because if you're not talking to your partners or your vendors behind the scenes before you're throwing stuff out on the newspaper, you kind of got to expect that.
We don't want to do that.
So my understanding was that they were leasing the first floor, right?
They are leasing, and I didn't make enough copies for everyone, but they are, well, if you look at your current, if you look at this, and you come in the main office where the front door where it says office, they are leasing to the right of that. They're leasing 141 all the way down to 118, the library area, and then 117, 110, 109. And then common areas are the cafeteria and gym, and we would continue to use the gym for Amity AC, the basketball program, because they're always looking for gym space, and I think for the younger kids they've been utilizing that, and I think even for some adult.
That's in the evening,
yeah,
though, right?
that-
Okay.
So that's why that's considered a common area. Cafeteria, I didn't know if at some point district office wanted to utilize that space for consistent committee meetings, something along those lines, because we would no longer have this space, and
Yeah.
there's really not a great space to use at the high school that is comparable to a larger space. I mean, unless you're going in the auditorium or the LGI or something like that, but it's not. There's no tables.
Is the kitchen just gonna?
The kitchen, Kenny has taken most of the equipment from that kitchen
It's almost
and
bare.
refurbished, it was newer, and refurbished Birdsboro, because Birdsboro's kitchen equipment was that lacking, and there were
Hand-me-downs
pieces.
again.
So he put the kitchen back together over at Birdsboro, and they're quite happy with those accommodations. So there are things there
Yeah,
in
but
the
not
kitchen,
much.
but no,
Yeah.
not a whole lot.
Sort of like basic.
So are they using the rooms around the library as well?
They are. Those are
Okay.
smaller office spaces that gives them their
Oh,
their
they're-
little bit of
okay.
office space that they wanted. And the entire square footage that they were leasing was about 28,000 square feet.
So they're kind of on the right, like that
They're on the
right-hand
right.
side on the lower floor,
Right.
and then the
Right.
gym. Okay.
Right.
And they don't have anything at night? Like
They
they're
do not.
strictly during the day?
Their hours are anywhere between 7:30, 8 o'clock. Students arrive, and then they are departing that building by 2:30 at the latest. They are cleared out.
So, if we were to lease anything else in there, I know there's a door, I think there's a door here.
There's
at the
nothing that
other
gets,
door.
there's nothing that would be able to lock off the right side of the building to the other side of the building. There are
Not now.
no. There are
They have
no.
to be
There are no.
built.
There are no doors that are fire doors or anything like
But
that.
they were going to install a gate though, or something, right? Or no? Or not?
They weren't. I mean, there wasn't
Oh, I
really
thought they
any
were-
necessity
okay.
to. They're not going to allow their kids to just
Roam.
They do run. My experience in going and visiting their facilities, they have a very well maintained population. I mean, not to say that any of our own buildings can't have a student who
All right.
leaves or moves out of wherever they're at, depending on the circumstance. But
The lavatories here, that next to the gym, are they the only lavatories for that end of the building?
for that end
as
of the
far as you
building,
know?
those are the only yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just thinking, it's not anything specific to River Rock. I'm just thinking of the privacy factor of anyone that will rent anything else in there, to be able to lock down at night so that, they know whatever their records are secure. That's all.
All the classroom doors would lock, that they
Yeah.
would be, keeping things in. They wouldn't
Okay.
have any access to that.
Well, sure, yeah, they do.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Is there, I don't know what your conversations with them have been at this point, but somebody had mentioned at one point that their enrollment was pretty low.
Their enrollment is going to probably go up because after a meeting that I attended, I attended the county superintendent's meeting on Thursday, and the Berks County Intermediate Unit has a alternative education program that is closing at the end of this school year. Because
need-
they can't compete with the River Rock programs that have been out there. And so 8 schools are going to be looking for placements, Boyertown being one of them.
So there's a potential
That's
that
a
we
plus
could
for
grow
us.
this relationship with
Exactly.
them and
Yeah.
fill this space.
Right, and I have an idea that I'd like to bring up at revenue enhancement that would enhance Boone's Pocket directly by partnering with River Rock. So, I mean,
I'm
we can
definitely
wait
open
for
to
that.
but
For that.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it was pretty clear to me that we stirred the pot a little in talking about leasing it, and we were just trying to maximize the revenue that we could bring in.
I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think it's so much the leasing It's the fact that they're closing Birdsboro. I think
you think that's
I
scared
think
them?
that's what threw them off, because we've always talked, even when we talked to River Rock last year, the intent was always that we were going to lease other parts of it.
And that somehow we would have to.
I think what's throwing them off is that we're going to close another school, but we don't have enough room in the two that are open. Where's your automatic thought process going? Well, we got a brand new school that was just renovated, or a recently renovated school. If they need another school, where are they going to go? Back to there. So I think that was what threw them off. And again, I think, like I said, sometimes just like if we go talk to Amity, sometimes you're better off talking to people before you throw it out on the front page.
Yeah.
Just like when when the council people and the manager and the mayor read in the paper that you're going to close their school, that's not where they want to see it.
Right.
You make a phone call and you say, hey, look, this may be a possibility.
Right.
I mean, that's courtesy.
So, I think our best bet here, and I hate to put all our eggs in one basket, that's not typically a good strategy, but we could strengthen that relationship with them.
Oh, I believe so too. I mean, I have a very good rapport with the CEO, Steve Capaferri, working with him through the whole transition for the whole last year. And then I kind of bounced off my idea to him about something that I was thinking, and he was pretty excited about that, and so we'd discuss that in the next meeting. We'll stick to your agenda.
Well, I would say, I think if we can, if we can somehow convince them that, we'd like to have a long-term partnership with them,
I think
they will stay. But I don't know. Honestly, I don't know that you can foster that with everything up in the air.
The biggest worry is that they know that they don't have to, they've invested money into properties that they are using, that they are leasing. And they know that they don't have to do that here, that, the structurally, everything's great. I mean, I know that the Spring Township building that they're in right now in the Wilson School District, they've invested almost over $200,000 in replacing doors, just bringing things, up to date and making sure that the facility is a secure facility and that it's nice. They've painted, they've done a lot of things. And a part of what they would want to do is they have a lot of inspirational slogans and things that, remind kids that, think positively, do positive things, and good things will happen. And that's kind of the basis of their program. Right now they're going to have to buy desks and chairs, not necessarily teacher desks, because we do have a lot of those that we have not moved out that could stay within the classroom, but they obviously can't sit in kindergarten, first grade, desks. So they would have to furnish it and whatever else, computers, whatever else they were going to invest into their program. And their thought is, if we're making this investment, we're only going to be there for a year, they would rather cut their losses.
What about if we would change the agreement to be something more longer term, but that maybe gave them an incentive or something to grow?
And if you put in there, like at an emergency, that if we needed a school in an emergency, we would have to give you.
I mean, it is long term. It's a 5-year lease.
Okay.
But the issue is we can opt out of it every year on this, as long as we notify them by December 31st. Then they'd be done at the end of the school year. Now, we did that so that if, God forbid, we needed a school or whatever, we could get out of it. But the intent was really to grow that relationship with them. But that intent came under a different board of directors. So now I think they're not sure. Well, is the new board's intent the same? Because there's been a lot of talk of, can we get out of that lease?
Well, we've been in the paper almost every day for the.
Right.
Should we? What would
Wednesday's going to be, I think, I'll be a meeting, and I will be happy to put my notes together and report back to the board how it went. So for whomever could attend. But 10:30 in the morning, or at the district office upstairs in the conference room, is the meeting time.
Okay.
So.
I mean, I wonder if it would make sense to have them in a facilities meeting even.
Well, and I asked them, he said he would come to anything that we would want him, he would be more than happy to come to anything. So we'll start with Wednesday's meeting. I think that would be a good place to start.
Well, how much are we getting from them for rent?
Well, you have,
I know there's a trade-off and all that, but in dollars, including the trade-off, what does it come up to us?
Off the top of my head, I
because barter is
I
money.
believe it's about I believe it's about $200,000 to $250,000, and I'll tell you why. It's 3 students, correct? And that's roughly $30,000 a student,
right?
So that's 90. Okay, and then we save transporting those kids because right now we have
right there.
We have to pick them up and take them probably to where do they go? Wilson or
that we would normally send to them.
And they go on the little bus and it's more expensive.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a more
Right.
expensive. So I think that was 65. I'm just going off the top of my head. I think that was like 60,000 or 65,000 in bus.
Yes.
And then how about our debt service?
Oh yeah, they know because we
What does
have
that
them in their
cost us a year?
program over in the Wilson.
That I'm not
Department,
sure.
and they know that they
I
would be those
can ask
fees
Mark if they can break that
That
out.
would make sense. If they live.
Well, you figure say
And they're giving us a reduced rate for every
say it's
student
$9 million
after.
over 30 years or 20 years. I mean, what's the typical? You don't. See, I'm not sure what the debt service on just that building would be. Mark
don't
can probably
either.
break it out.
Yeah.
I'm not a mathematician.
Yeah, I
Math
guess,
was not
I
my
guess it would
strong
be nice to see
suit.
the numbers. But the thing is, if that grows, you're telling me less than half of the building is what we'd be renting to them or leasing to them, right?
Correct.
So-
The third floor is difficult to lease to anyone because of not having an elevator.
Yeah.
If the district office would have moved there, we wouldn't have occupied that space because we had concerns about current employees that would make an issue of having to use the stairs
Right.
every day that are currently using an elevator to get themselves from the bottom floor to the top floor. So
It's obviously not ADA.
What did we do when we had kids? That if
Well,
they
we
had
had
kids
kids
with a
here, we-
broken leg or something.
Carry them on your back.
fortunately, I don't think we had anyone with a broken leg, but if we knew that we had a child with a disability, we made sure that their classroom, we kept a number of kindergarten or second, if there were second grades on the top floor, there were second grades on the bottom floor. If there were first grades up there, there was first grades down here. The only problem would have been with art because they did go up there, but to date, we weren't faced with a huge problem that way.
Wow, that's great.
And if it would have come push come to shove, I guess we would have had to look at one of those seated, the handicap
Okay.
elevators
riser
that they put in,
chairs
that
things.
they put into place.
Well, at this point, we could conceivably, if River Rock grows, if these other areas are closing down their facilities, they're only taking not even half the building as far as
Right.
classrooms,
Right.
a little less, about a third as far as classroom. So if they expanded, they'd still be on the first floor.
Right, they would.
And our second and third floor, we
And
can't
then
pull
the-
that with.
right.
You can't. I don't think you can do much with period.
No, I don't think so
Regardless
either.
of-
We
yeah.
would have.
I think they-
district office would have been the comparable code
Yeah, but it.
shares there.
Right.
Because then they would have even run the main office area as far as people coming in and out, which would have been good.
Okay, well, I think we should be nice to
Yeah.
River.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I agree.
agree.
I just
because
think
right,
so,
No,
yeah.
because right now you're looking at a potential of $250,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
That if they go away, we have to make up.
And then when you hear the rest of the story, then it might become even more interesting.
Okay.
This is the part that you're not going to say.
I'm not.
Well, you
I'm
can
not
stay
saying
around
now
for the
because it's
next
not
meeting.
facilities. It's revenue enhancement.
I know.
Well, we're
Everyone
trying to
can see me all
enhance.
crazy on the tape recorder.
You keep teasing me with this.
My husband says, "Yeah, coming home when?"
We have a 9 o'clock drop dead. 7:30's revenue enhancement, and then we cut that off at 9s if it goes that late. So.
All right.
All right. So.
What do you want to know about the BEC boilers?
All right. Well.
Anything new?
There's nothing new. They are currently still holding pressure and plugging along. There's no leaks from there. We did, however, have a leak in one of the univents in one of the classrooms as a result of the pipes freezing and cracking, and we needed to bring somebody out Friday, and I'm saying this because I was the person reporting there because poor Kenny has been down and out. So I understand that there were fine cracks in much of the copper piping in this unit vent. Gentleman was called in. He said not a problem. He could take care of blah, blah, blah. Guess this was coming in to solder, get him out, do whatever. I know that we had to go in and do some legwork for him, and that should be okay. But the boilers are holding up, and I guess there were some questions about can we run on one?
Yeah.
Kenny had asked me, talked to me. I had asked him about, I had asked him, for example, could we replace just one if we needed to replace? And he said yes, and you could, but we don't have costs for that yet. And I know a couple of members have said, what would the cost for one be? When I asked him, I didn't push for a cost because, to me, I know you're going to pay installation twice, so
Right, yeah.
it's
So
almost
that
not
would be the
worth
one
it.
thing,
But if
right?
people
Well-
are interested in that, we could ask.
No,
him
I don't think.
To me, it's kind of like, well,
His
to have installed twice, you're going to pay. If it's, I would think if it's $388.5, it's going to be $400 and some.
Well, his concern about having one running is this, that one is not always running all the time. It's lead and lag. You have one running, and then it flips over to the other one, and that one gets a break. So if the one is running 24/7, and it's potentially
Not
the
very
better
good
of the
anyway.
two, it's going to
Shorten
get
its
worse.
lifespan.
Right.
Oh, sure.
So, bottom line is he needs a decision because if you choose to not replace them, something happens to him, then he's going to have to drain the entire system, and then you have absolutely no
Heat.
climate control at all. It's gone. So, and that's not just heat. That's
Air
also
conditioning,
cooling
yeah.
because when we have a problem in the summertime,
How about,
I don't want to say the bad word.
no, but
it's
is
gross.
humidity controlled by the furnace?
The humidity
I mean-
is,
By
I
the boiler,
believe,
yes.
controlled by the chillers.
That work with the furnace?
Right.
I mean, I know
Right.
it's,
Yes.
yeah, it's a whole
It
system.
needs
Right,
to
right,
run
right.
12 months out of the year,
Yeah.
not just
Yes.
six.
So it uses that same to pump through.
Right.
Yeah.
Cold water.
I was gonna say, and remind me, aren't the chillers new with Birdsboro?
The chillers
Yes.
are new. They were just
They
put
just
on
them-
there 2 years ago tops.
It's done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, something was done.
Yeah.
Right. So, and the roof is new as well. I think it's 4 years or something like that. But yeah. So, I mean, he had asked me he said, "Listen, I need some answers from the facilities committee too." Oh, well, I guess it really would come from the board, but for us to discuss. For example, if he gets a leak now, do we want him to call in somebody to come try to fix it, or do we just want him to drain the system and shut it down? I mean, those are all kinds of things.
I
He
know.
doesn't know. What's he supposed to do?
Well, it's,
I know.
Yeah.
you know,
And,
there's a
Making
lot
him-
of fingers in that.
Yeah. It's
and
making
winter
them-
isn't going away.
Winter's not going anywhere.
No, we're still gonna need to heat it for a
So,
while.
I mean, my personal feeling is, I'm comfortable recommending that we replace it, but I don't know that if that would be a consensus to come out of this committee or not. So, but it's not fair to them to not know what to do. He's
I
got to
know.
know who do I call if it
Absolutely.
leaks? Do I call the person who welded it, or do I call the guys over to come drain the system and shut it down and call Mary Beth and say get the kids out?
Right.
Well, let's keep our options open. Let's do this. I would recommend that we think about it this way.
We know one option is to keep fixing it. Okay. Let's get a price on replacing one. Okay? All right, let's get a price on replacing one.
It shouldn't take them long to do that. They've already
No.
given us a price.
I didn't know. I don't think it will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
I'm-
And we got the emergency.
388.
We got the emergency plan
I
if the
don't
thing
think so.
absolutely takes a dive on us. You know,
I don't think it will because
No.
there's the cost of each boiler and then there's the cost to install. So it's probably going to be more than half of 388.
Yeah, because they're going to have
You're
to
probably
get
right.
equipment in to get the equipment
Right.
in and out, and moving equipment back
So
and
maybe-
forth is going to be
Well, actually,
pricey.
since we're going back to them to ask them something, I would ask them for a price to install one, and then I ask them for a price to install the second one at another time,
Yeah.
so that you know what the total of
Yeah,
the two is gonna be.
exactly.
I guess
Right.
I was thinking that it made sense to replace both, and where my head was going with that was that even if we don't occupy the building with students, we would be in a similar situation as we are in APC, as in leasing it, right? Leasing it or selling it. And if we leased it out, we would still need to have it operational. And that would be on us to do, right? I mean, that's like as far as APC goes.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll go back to
like Kenny he would still be responsible for that, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mary Beth, did you do this?
I did not make the design, but I printed it out.
Do you have one for Birdsboro? Like
I
this?
do.
Could we see it?
Not right this minute.
No.
But I could probably get one up and show it to you.
Wheel the printer over.
No, but I mean, it being in the building trades, I can look at this. I can walk around a building and see stuff, but this is what I work off of. Okay, and is it possible to email one to me, or do I need to wait till the next meeting?
No,
put me on the list too.
You can send it to the
I know how you feel about me, so please.
But I do think you're talking about this, and I'm not that. I haven't been on the board that long, but I've been on the board before the boilers cracked.
Well, they were probably cracked back then.
They probably were, but the issue came up real quick after we got on the board. This has been booted around, and we do, Tamara said he wants to know what to do, and it's getting to the point where it could happen tomorrow, and he's going to have to say,
God,
Could you,
no, I know, but.
And I don't know if I don't want to push anybody, but if that number's something we could get before the 10th, maybe that it would be then. Maybe the board as a whole.
He'll have to direct me because he will be out the whole week.
Oh, that's right.
But
he might be able to email whoever.
Yeah, he could probably.
From.
Yeah. Is he ill?
Yeah, he's pretty sick.
Yeah. All right.
And he's out the week.
I think if we're going to operate that building in some capacity or another.
There you go. You have it.
What? Oh, you gave it to me. Oh. God bless the iPad.
Sorry, if we're going to operate it in some capacity,
we have to heat it. We have to control the climate.
I don't mind getting a price for just one, but I kind of look at depending on how much it is. Like to me, it probably is going to make sense to do them at the same time, but we'll see what the numbers say.
Well, the thing is if we don't have the money to do it, we don't have the money to do two. If we do that.
See, I
there goes 400 grand.
I think we do have the money to do two.
We do. We have the money.
We do have the money.
But we don't have much left over if we spend
we got the money, but after we spend
Right.
that depletes that 400 grand, and that's it. That's done. There's nothing else there.
If you're looking at that as the only money the district has, then you can make that argument. But we have money in other places.
There's what,
Where?
$3.1 million in fund balance.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have money in the fund balance, and
What was the money that Kim and Mark said that they found?
That
in the
800, the
debt
debt service.
Right.
yeah, which would be almost.
Then you have the 800.
Almost 4 million. I almost said 400 million. Geez.
That'd be nice.
Hey.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. But yeah, they said they had told us. See, you weren't at the budget meeting, but they were talking about. They changed the payment. It's probably tangential, but basically where we can end up at the end of this year is almost $4 million.
The debt service payment was calculated in twice in two different areas. So there's $860,000 roughly that was in the budget twice. So they're recommending that we would move that to capital reserve. So
Yeah,
That's good news.
yes.
it is good news, and I think it gives us an option there to get this building current on the heating system at least,
Yeah, but I still look at it, is it going to be utilized for the school 5, 6, 7 years down the road?
It's hard to say.
Of course it is.
Hard to say.
But, all right, well,
So we're gonna get price on one.
we'll get a price on
Sent him an
one.
email,
Okay.
took care of that, and I asked
Okay.
him to let me know how I can go about getting it for him, that he'd like it by the 10th, so.
I see that way the board, I mean, I don't feel like we need to keep this for another facilities committee meeting if we can make it, if we can get the information to the board as a whole and they can
I
make a
think so.
decision.
I mean,
Because
we
it just
have to
pushes
make a
it out another
decision.
month, right.
We can't.
Yeah, and next meeting's April 7th.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first Monday, yes.
Pretty sure I'll be in Mexico.
Nice.
Good for you.
You're not gonna phone in?
Nah, not a chance.
Where's your loyalty? My God.
Well, skipping over to the next subject. We gotta get this done.
I
one
will,
way
yeah.
or the other.
So is that where we're at here? We're between 1 or 2? Is
No.
that,
No, I think there's
No.
still people that may be at none, but.
Right.
Well, but as far as this committee's concerned, are we in an agreement that it's
I
1
don't
or
know about
2?
that.
No, I'm
No.
not in agreement with that.
No, we're just in an agreement that we're going to get the price for 1 or 2,
Okay.
and we're going to find out how much more it's going to cost us to do it one at a time.
One at a time.
Okay,
right.
that's the biggie,
Right.
don't you think? That's
Well-
if it's going to cost us $5,000 more to do it one at a time, I'd do it one at a time. If it's going to cost us $10,000 or $20,000 more to do it one at a time, then you got to start thinking, how critical is it going to be?
Right.
I mean, anything in the lower end, let's just get one done and do it.
That was on the CoStarz
Because he said we
contract?
could run the building on one.
That price.
And then if we are going to do something, nothing gets cheaper. I mean,
No.
anytime
No,
you do
that is
something,
true.
Very
I mean, if you do it this year, it's going to cost X amount of dollars. If you do it next year, it's going to cost you more money.
X plus 4.
Even the
Mhm.
same exact job.
Crush it all the
It's
time.
just the way it is.
Yes. That is
So,
true.
so what I
Something
think
like
what
this,
we
I was
have to
told, like,
do
you have
for
to
the
get
board is
engineering
bring them
drawings
numbers.
and everything else.
Yes.
Really
This
try to
and
bid it
this.
out.
Do you want to? And I think the board has to okay
Am I going down a road here?
whether they're going to okay two at the same
Not
time.
necessarily, I'm sure he would be
That's
happy to
the
do it
issue.
the cheapest way.
But I think we are
But I
going
know
to.
it has
Don't
to,
you?
I know Train has to play a
What's
role
the-
into it, because then he's going to have to be able to incorporate the computer so that he doesn't have to physically keep going into every
Yep.
building.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry,
sorry, it
what
was a
was it?
sidebar, and I don't want to belabor this too much. In my line of work, we're very well aware of CoStar's contracts, and the pricing is not good.
It's not always the best. They
no.
tell you it's the best, but it's not.
It's totally not. So I mean, at
think
least in my
I
line
think
of
Kenny's
work.
probably done his homework though, but I'll double check to see what other.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking if we could get 3 train dealers together and let them go battle it out and cut a
Well-
little profit out of the thing
Well,
for
yours
us.
and we may right. You might even be able to do it where you don't want to have to go through the bid process if you don't have to because it's going to add money on. But you could get a price from somebody else non-CoStars and go back to the CoStars person and say I can get it for $4,000 less or
leverage
20,
them.
and because I've done that, and they will sometimes come down.
Isn't that kind of just like the bidding process though?
No.
How does that work? I'm not sure about that.
Because if you know specifically what you want, you're just asking them for a price on that.
Well, right.
You're not putting it in the paper. You're not having a contract. You're saying you're asking them for a proposal, and then you go, oh well, it's over X amount of money. I have to put it out to bid or go with CoStar's dealer. Oops.
Yeah. Right.
That's all. Happens all the time. But yeah.
I mean, that's what we, like in my line of work, we do that all the time. And what we used to do is sell it at the CoStar's price, but then give them additional services or even equipment included in that price to really sweeten the deal. And then it made it real easy to do business with that school district. So those were just some things that were drumming around in my head on that we might be able to get a little better deal than what we saw so far.
Sure too.
Let Kenny handle it, see what he can do.
All right. Well, moving on, talking about capital. We did did get a proposal from a company called Reserve Advisors, and
I
they
pretty much copied that from one of the pages.
okay. They we had asked them about a reserve study, and they would look at the 6 facilities: the Amity Primary Center, the AIC, the Birdsboro Monocacy, the middle school and high school, and they would be looking at the roofs, the exterior wall finishes, plumbing and mechanical systems, HVAC systems, offices, classrooms, commercial kitchens, security systems, breezeways, parking areas, lights and fixtures, fences, sidewalk signage, irrigation systems, the 5 playgrounds, the high school stadium and track, the high school maintenance facility, 5 baseball and softball fields, and the sports courts, and all other improvements to the property owned in common as defined in your association's declaration, and any other property you'd like us to include. So basically, Kenny gave them all our buildings, all our, the dimensions, all that. And they would, they do an on-site inspection and consider the replacement cost, maintenance history, quality of the construction materials, age, condition, and relevant climate condition. Give us a report, and basically what we need to put aside every year
For capital.
for capital.
Yeah.
Their total cost proposal was $69,500. Retainer $34,750.
Just to do the study.
Correct. The in 2009, I believe facilities had looked at, I know Ken had looked at. Andrew told me that Ken Smith had looked at the same type thing with a company called Yerkes Associates, which is an engineering firm, local engineering firm, and they were 6 figures in this, in the 6-figure range.
We're talking $69,400 to do all of this
Yeah.
for all the schools.
I think it's I think it's not a bad price, really.
No, I don't
When you
either.
think about it.
I mean, it's very in-depth to do all this stuff.
Yes.
And just writing the report.
And I do. I mean, you can look at these. These are the ones that they.
Well, you can-
Yeah, I would say there's more. You can look at them, but these. They talk about everything they're looking to do. They do have references.
What's their background? Engineering?
They do have engineers, yes, but they're not. I mean, they're not really an engineering firm.
Right.
They do these studies. But yeah, they have.
According to what I read, that all of their people that work for them have credentials that meet the requirements.
Whether it's
Right.
civil or
Right.
HVAC
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yes. That's what they pride themselves on having a highly qualified.
Where are they from? Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
There you go.
Most of that's travel expense.
Well, it looks
Yeah,
like they got people in
probably.
Virginia.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, so I would guess they have people all over.
Yeah.
So how do we get in touch with these guys? Who made
Kenny would.
he knows them?
I don't know.
I think he was contacted.
No, I think originally Andrew had gotten these people's names.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how, but he had talked to this woman somewhere along the way, and then passed it along because
Sure.
because the engineering firms were so costly, they were looking for another alternative, and I did speak with the engineers that I utilize for our wastewater facilities and stuff, and they do have a division that could do this, but they said off the top of their head, they don't think they'd come in much cheaper than 6 figures just because of the work involved,
Yeah.
So
I think it's...
And they would be able to tell us like the lifespan
Correct.
of these things and help us plan out.
that's exactly what they'd be doing. They'd be saying, the system, the heating system in the high school is going to need to be replaced in 2020, and it's going to cost you $2 million. So you got to put $500,000 away for the next 5, whatever. I mean, that is what they're going to do.
Well, I appreciate the comments about, other bids would be 6 figures, but I would like to see something else.
Well, and that's fine. And I'm
Yeah,
just saying we can do that.
comparable.
We got this. I can go out and talk to other firms, and we can get other pricing. But here's the thing. I guess if you guys aren't even if we're not even willing, I need to know if we're willing to look to even consider recommending to spend that kind of money to do that. Because frankly, I don't mean to be rude, but I don't want to waste somebody's time to go through all the data we send them and come up with a proposal if we're not even willing,
If we're not gonna
if we're
do
not
it.
willing to spend 50, 60, 70 grand to do it, if that's what it's going to cost.
Here's what I'm saying.
These are the references right here.
Correct.
Has anybody taken the time to call them yet?
No, because I wasn't really looking to
Pretty
make a
early.
decision on this tonight.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if this is something that the committee is willing to entertain recommending.
Okay, so they made this up for us as a proposal, but
Correct.
they got the pictures from Bing, or one of the maps.
Probably.
Yeah.
They probably
It's
pulled
like
them off Google.
Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do that if I'm going to Australia. I do that if I was going to Australia.
Well, here's how I feel about it. I think if it's in the price range that these people are talking about, call it 70 grand. If everybody else, if another one or two people come in at that amount, yeah, I would be willing to take that to the board and say, hey, this would be something that we should spend in order to get a 10-year outlook.
It actually
In order to
sounds
put a
like
plan together.
I saw something in here that said
I mean, that's the way I
something like
think.
20
Okay.
years.
Yeah.
I thought I saw something
I think it is 20.
20.
Well, whatever it is.
Right.
I mean, to me, that's
We got to have a capital plan in place. We're going to have to hire somebody like these folks to put something like this together, and it's
Yep.
going to cost some money. Okay, well, I'm on board with that, but I want to see, are they in the range?
Okay.
You know, that's the only thing I'm saying.
No, and that's fine. And like I said, I don't mind doing that. It's an awful lot of work for both myself or whoever on the committee's organizing it, and Kenny, and the people that are doing it. If we're not serious, that's
Let me know,
my only.
You know what? Let me know how I can help.
Okay. No, and I don't. Like I said, I don't. It may not be a big deal. I hate to waste time.
I don't wanna
I
waste
hate
it
to
either.
run in a circle.
I
So
don't want to run it either.
we will work on that and see if we can get maybe something for the April meeting.
And if there's something I can do, Tamara, let me know. I'm happy
Okay.
to.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, the last thing is
My 2 cents.
okay.
How about
It's just basically saying that at this point, the moves that we do make are going to have to be contracted out, that Kenny and his men are not going to be able to put the time into making the moves if they're occurring over the summer. So that goes with whatever comes down the pike, including district office. Half of it was moved to APC already. He's going to be contracting out to get that stuff out of there and moved to the space at the high school.
And Mary Beth, why is it they can't do it? What's going on with?
Well, because we're not going to be able to move into the high school until the end of June.
Okay.
And that will be prime time where they're cleaning buildings, they're maintaining buildings and grounds.
Okay.
And if there's any other moving that's taking place, they're going to have to orchestrate that in some way, along with vacations, you know.
Yeah, the thought process with the moves to
Right.
CB Barrett, when they were moving to APC, they were doing that now.
Right.
They were working on that
And-
in the winter.
And Matthew Brook has to be painted, carpeting replaced, which, you know, he was also trying to do, but that stuff may have to be bid out, not bid out, but put out as well, because there's just not going to be enough time in
I'm
the.
just saying it's just not the manpower to do
No.
that.
No, what he was trying to do was he was trying to get this all done before spring sports were going to really, you know, up and run, and before fields had to be maintained, and while there was snow still on the ground, he figured in between plowing and, you know, salting that, you know, he would be able to make the changes. But he's not going to be able to be moving things into the high school because there are teachers that are occupying, a class, and there's things that's going to have to move around so that we can be not all over the building, which is not conducive to good business.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just a quick question. What did they move over? Was it storage items?
Everything that we were boxing up that we didn't feel like we had to have our fingers on, we thought that we would be moved in by the end of March, so we were packing up.
Is this our stuff here?
This is PSSA testing.
No, I think because
Can't
you
touch
were
it, right?
No.
you were going to move. You were actually going to move the administrative offices well prior to June, right? Like
Correct.
you were planning on being
Because
set up
then
there
Kenny
this
was
month.
using his
Okay.
own men to paint and to do room by room. As he cleared out a room, he was getting somebody in to paint and to take that room, finish that room and get us moved over. There was a lot of stuff in the business office that has to be stored and has to be,
Right.
in a protected area because of the documents that are there. And
Did that recommendation to make that change, did that come out of facilities committee?
No.
To change to move it to high school?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
That came the night you were
Yeah.
sat on the board.
Yeah.
That was our first night.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was it. Yeah.
Is it possible to leave what's there? Is it storage items?
no,
Okay.
we need it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? Running all over the place, or what?
Yeah, till they can move it back, probably.
When we need something, somebody goes over and gets it if we have to have it. and-
Very efficient.
so.
Do we?
Do we even discuss the ramification? Like, that night's a little cloudy at this point.
No. No. That it didn't matter what the ramifications were at that point in time, I don't believe, but
So I'm just making this
right.
committee aware that there's going to be.
I guess
costs
we have
incurred with-
absolutely no idea what
Bullshit,
that's
yeah.
going to cost, right?
Depends on what you're moving.
And what about the high school? It was mentioned at one point that there would have to be some changes made there.
We are not going to move the current office or guidance space at all. That is not conducive to running that building properly. That parents and students that are coming in should be coming in through the main entrance and be corralled right into the main office. We are,
Yeah, well, I don't know where else you
we're
would do
just,
that.
we're gonna just have to deal with the fact that we're going to be in the middle of the first floor,
So yeah, so
old guidance wing.
Okay.
okay, is that what you guys were looking at, the old guidance wing?
Okay, just another question. Everything that's over there now is just like stock. Is that right? They didn't.
We're not, no, we haven't moved anymore. Once
Okay,
the-
but my question is, you haven't taken it out?
No.
It's just sitting there?
Right.
Okay. It's just been up?
Right,
Okay. Okay.
it's been not good.
Moving is never fun.
Moving would have been okay.
No, moving is never fun.
Well, it's not fun, but there's
We were okay.
there's
Yeah.
livable and then there's
Yeah, right.
nightmare. So
Okay, so what's the deal with contracting movers?
Kenny will contract with the people that he's used in the past when he's had to move AMI Primary Center, back and
Okay.
forth, et cetera. But,
Okay,
is it?
so he's got, now, does that have to be bid?
I don't think so. I don't believe he's.
Is
bid
it a
out
price
before.
range that we have to bid?
I don't
Yeah,
believe so.
over
I
a
mean,
certain amount.
Yeah.
But it's probably, hopefully it's
What was it? We just saw it. It was.
it's
I forget.
18,
19,000
well,
or
18.5 plus whatever CPI was, so 19 and change.
Yeah.
It was 18.5 last year. Is there any way, like if it was just disregard, say take BEC out of the equation and the two centers, would they be able to give us some type of an estimate on what it would cost for the administrative offices to be moved
He would have just done that with his own manpower. If we were.
to the high
just-
school?
Well, no.
No, if we, yeah. Do you think, I mean, I know it's hard to get it, probably to ask for an estimate because you don't, I mean, but if they,
No, he can probably.
and here's why, I'm just saying, if it's,
No, a movable.
if it's $3,000, it's $3,000, but if it's 30 grand or 20 grand, I mean, that's a big difference,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, you also have to include the finishing, completing, painting.
Right.
Because we are now not going to be able to move out in ample time for him to be able to prep that building by the time that it needed to be prepped. I mean, and the other problem is that moving us in June is.
The end of your fiscal year, when you're trying to do,
Right.
yes, when finance is trying to do
And-
all their year-end stuff, yeah. I know.
Will we have a price on the move before the next?
I can ask Kenny to try to get an estimate on what he thinks the cost will be for painting, rug replacement, and move of district office, from district office to high school, and the stuff from APC to district to high school.
Yeah, that would be great.
Please.
That would be great.
Because I know movers come in and give you an estimate. Whenever I've moved, they come in and tell you what.
Right. I'm just saying if we can somehow get an idea of what that is, because
they know their job and they can tell you right away how much it's going to cost.
I'm guessing, not that I think this would happen, but I'm just throwing this out there. For some reason, the board decided in the March meeting that they're going to reverse decision and go back to moving to APC. Could Kenny do it?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know, if it's already coming into spring and too late.
Yeah, I mean, half the journey's done.
Right.
Okay. And I need to get a report, and I'll get it in writing, as far as Safe Schools is concerned, and what what our state troopers feel with regards to, not having the district office have a separate building for command central in the event. I mean, that building has a bomb scare. We've got to be out, and there's no communicating on cell phones.
Right.
So somebody's going to have to get into their car. They're going to have to be off site and, potentially go to Monocacy or whatever. It's not optimum.
No, and I know, because I've talked about it with my police chief.
Right.
I said, and I said, what's your thoughts? And he said, it's not, he said, schools do it, but he said it's not. And he said same type things. You got the communication issues. He said you also have the media issues.
Right.
Say you got an event at the high school. If your administration building somewhere else, you can just say to the media, go down there. Like you don't want them on the scene.
There's monthly fire drills. There's
right.
monthly intruder drills. There's different things that are going to impact the day-to-day business. I mean, granted, it's 10, 15 minutes of inconvenience, but
Well, I think we should ask that question. That needs to be part of the whole.
The other thing that did come up in our insurance adjuster, who comes out to more or less give us our, and I'll have to talk to Mark Boyer exactly what it is, with regards to the liability insurance, I guess, that we hold on each of the buildings, and they go through to check the safety of it. When the insurance adjuster was told that district office was going to be immersed into the high school, I don't know what their comments were, but it wasn't positive. So I need to get that in writing as well.
Find out what issues they have.
Yeah. I just know that being a principal of a school building that had multiple bomb scares, that if I wouldn't have had somebody off campus to be able to do the things that I needed to do, like get Connect Eds out and
right.
To be able to manage those things, it was a nightmare. And honestly, I don't know. Once the state police come on site, and once the police come on site, you're no longer in charge. But it's not like you can leave.
Correct. Right. Yeah, and it's not like you're a command center because you're
right.
commanding the incident.
Right.
The police are in charge.
And
but
I think,
you need somebody to handle the communication
right.
end of it.
I think buildings that do have their administration at the high school level or at a school level, my experience with the ones that I know of, I don't know of any that are in the middle of the school. They're usually a separate building. There's a door that's not there. There's a place where.
And I will tell you that even like from my end, there's a big trend for municipal buildings. You used to have the police, the ambulance, the township, or the borough building. They were all in the same building. Mm-hmm. They're starting to get away from it because of emergencies and that, you don't want all your resources
right.
in one location.
Right.
It's just bad.
Right.
It's just bad planning unfortunately, from an incident standpoint. And in today's day and age, you have to worry about that.
Okay.
We've got to weigh the cost of that and see what it is. And we have to find out. Going to our state police
mm-hmm.
partners and asking them,
I do have a phone number, and they will come out and do a risk assessment for us.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, one more thing. When is our lease up here?
June.
June 30th.
June 30th. And with the new reorganization of going to high school, are we going to be able to meet that?
Well, we're going to it's not going to be a very professional setting at all. I'm going to be in a classroom that's down the hall.
No, excuse me.
Okay.
I'm looking for reasons, okay? I'm making a list.
You mean time-wise? Are we going to be able to vacate this building?
Yeah, so that we don't have to pay any more rent. Are we going to have to
That's
pay
why
more
you have
rent
to bring.
now?
No, that's why they have to bring in another company because school's in session till the 13th.
No, I understand
So they
that.
have
I'm
2
saying,
weeks.
what's the risk of us having to pay more rent here? Dollar signs.
I don't know that.
I mean, does it look like it's really pinch? Will they let us here? Or yes, nobody's going to come in here because it's not rented.
Right.
But I mean, are they going to charge us?
I'm sure they'll charge us.
Right.
Even, I can't imagine that they wouldn't
Question.
charge you.
When do we have to be out of here?
June
June
30th.
June 30th.
Okay, is there and now school's going to be on longer because of the snow days.
Right.
Is there going to be, could you, since you're doing all these numbers for us, could you find out what a month's rent is here? I mean, I know we have a lease, and so forth.
Well, it may be longer than that because it's not just getting us out of here, it's then prepping.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, till we turn it over to them, what's a month's rent? Okay, now we have insurance, we have the cost of the move, we have extra rent. We have inconvenience. I hope you'll see.
Yes.
You said insurance, cost to hire movers, possible rent,
The
I think
inconvenience.
inconveniences
Mhm.
a. putting
Well,
it
and
lightly.
efficiencies as
Yeah,
well.
that's
I
putting
mean,
it lightly, it's
Yeah.
just wrapping up a bunch of
I'm
stuff.
going to say efficiencies because
Okay.
I think efficiency is a big thing as well. And right now, if
And safety.
Safety
if
issue.
they have to stop what they're doing to run from Matthew Brook to APC to get something, because
Well, yeah, but they won't be doing that eventually, but that's,
I saw 4 months, 5 months of it, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know.
but, okay, so when did you think you were going to be over at APC?
Before spring sports was up and running too.
Which was March 15th, right?
Well,
What's the date?
at some point, I think that Kenny figured he could have us moved out of here by the end of April, and then he would have May and June to be able
Okay.
to do what he needed to do in here. That was his hopes. I know that the business office becomes quite busy, and don't forget, come June, whatever you want to say, we'll roll back to 4-day work weeks.
Oh, that's right.
Because we shut down the buildings to
They do
optimize
410s.
energy and get Kenny has been earning monies for having the building shut down on a Friday. So then you'd only have the guys 4 days a week. I mean, they're 10-hour days, but
They love
yeah.
What do you mean earning money?
Well, when we shut down the buildings every Friday for 8 Fridays during the summer, we reduced our cooling costs by about, I think it was 68,000.
And we get money
78,000.
back sometimes from the electric company.
Right, for
Because they have additional power they
Right.
can sell them.
We're
Oh,
off grid.
We're
okay.
off grid.
We're off
Yeah.
grid.
Okay, okay.
So,
Which is a
I
great
like to
idea.
know what the word
yeah.
for another day.
So do we want to, are we waiting on more information to make a recommendation?
We're
Yes.
We're looking at ammunition, right?
To reverse course on the reverse course?
Right.
Well, I think we're looking at it to make it a reasoned decision, yeah. That's
Well,
the way would-
Yeah, but if you don't go in with your...
Well, here was the thing, right? Technically, the motion and the resolution that was read was to investigate moving
Right.
the administrative offices to the high school. And they said if we could show that it was not cost effective. That they would consider. Well, I shouldn't say they all did. There was a couple that said, "Well, we're just investigating it. If it costs $100,000, then we go back to what we were doing." Well,
Okay.
I don't know that's the truth, but how do you investigate it if you don't know what the costs are?
I thought the
That's
vote
what
was
we're
made
doing
to
now.
actually.
Well, it was, but I
Change.
think I'm hoping that people are open to the fact of if you go in there and you say it's going to cost $80,000 to move to the high school, and it's going to cost $10,000 to move to APC, that some people will go, oh well, that's not really worth $70,000. Let's rethink this. But I don't know
Yeah.
that that's the case.
I
don't think you know that until you have all the numbers together.
Right.
Well, do you remember, I think that was the vote that I did.
And you can't
No, you
really
That you
like
wanted to-
Because it's 5-4.
pick everybody
Yeah.
up in that building and move
The
them
first
for the
time
sake of
you
moving.
didn't vote on
at
it the
this
first
point.
time it was brought up in January.
I mean,
yeah. So
and additional space like the annex cafeteria space, like a common area. You don't want to put cubicles up and make people work behind partitions that, you know.
well, I'm gonna throw this out there because I think, in my opinion, it's obvious, and there's no reporter here.
I mean-
but I think morale right now is not real strong anyway. You stick people in cubicles in a cafeteria, I don't know that morale improves any. That's just my personal opinion, but
Is that what that would have
I'm
resulted?
very sensitive to that as well, but I'm also very sensitive to the fact that we're on a very precarious, budget here as well. And, I don't want to spend taxpayers' money or spend money where it's not necessarily needed to spend. But I am willing to look at every option that's available.
well, right. But there really wasn't money being spent to move to APC, whereas there probably will be to move to the high school.
If that proves the case, then we need
Well,
to look
see,
at that.
the rationale to not use APC for that,
Was that we could lease
that we
it,
could lease it.
or sell it. Well,
Right. And,
That's all part of the mix.
right, the sale isn't looking good. And,
And I would say that if we
and the
were going
lease
to,
is looking much better.
right, and you were saying that you guys were going to occupy the other half of the first floor?
We would occupy the left-hand side of the building.
Do you need all of it?
We currently are in all of the little office spaces to 101, 102. We would be going over to, I think, 106. There were 2 rooms available yet on that floor. We wouldn't have to go to the 3rd floor. But if people wanted to, if there was a request to lease, myself, my secretary, the superintendent's secretary, we would have no problem going to 3rd floor.
what's wrong with the second? Just that it's not
Yeah.
office.
What's that?
What's wrong with the second? Just that
Nothing.
It's not
I'm just saying
offices?
because of not lack of elevator. or
Okay, well,
anything,
but you could use the second.
we would move
Okay.
to the top floor
so that
so that people would be on a floor that they wouldn't have to need an
can
elevator.
be part
to
of your
go.
biggest weight loss program.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I already do the stuff.
Okay, you guys did a really great job getting the numbers together for us for the last meeting.
It would be about. I'm sorry, I just got a cost and I'll divide it out for you.
I mean, I would like to go back to the board and say that I don't think this is the best move.
But
I don't care what it costs, it's going to cost.
$5,500 a month.
That would be
the rent,
the rent
lease.
for here.
And Brian, I don't disagree with you, but I think we're going to need some numbers to back us up if we
Absolutely.
want to get 5 votes. I think that was probably
Yeah.
apparent in the last meeting. So I'm going to try to sum this up because I want to move to the next
Yeah.
meeting. But final thoughts or concerns? If we can get some of those numbers from Kenny or whoever on the moving costs, the repair in this building cost, and then if you can get something in writing from the insurance company regarding what their concerns were and talk to the state police. And I don't know if you could do that before the 10th or not, but we have the voting meeting on the 24th. So if we can't have it for the 10th, maybe if we can get it before the 24th to send it out to people, they can at least think about it. Okay.
And I made a mistake. It's $86,000 divided by 12, and that came up to $77,100.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't doing my math right. I forgot. I either made it the 6. I probably put 66,000 on it.
So 7,100 a month, right?
Yes.
71.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got insurance, repair of the building cost of the move, safety, police. Extra rent you've already given us.
Right. I'll get the cost of painting and replacing the rug, and having somebody do that, and get information
And
from
then
the
we've
police.
got the non dollars, which is morale and efficiency.
Efficiency is inconvenience.
Well, that becomes dollars too, efficiency. So,
But it's hard to quantitate.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't put a number on it.
inefficient,
Yeah.
I mean, inconvenience and efficiency and morale are things you can't put a number on. You can't put a number on, really put a number on safety, but it's really important.
It's a part of the equation, for sure.
Would you need additional security for escorting, or I don't know what the way you're planning on doing that?
Well, that was another thought. Because you can't, if you have somebody escorting from the front door, you can't keep it not manned. So it's almost like you'd have to have probably double security guards at the front desk. But
Get them from the front door to where they're located. In the
I would
building.
say,
but that's not an ever. I mean,
yeah, but that would be a constant cost, correct? Because you'd have
depending on the number of people that would be coming through,
right. But how are you going to know? I mean, I don't.
wouldn't.
You wouldn't. So you'd have to
No,
have an additional
right,
security
right.
guard on.
Right.
So, can you figure out what? Even if it's a part time. I mean, even if it's
Okay, that's another question. I've gone over to that building to pay my tax. I mean, I've come to this building to pay my taxes. For school taxes, for whatever reason I came in here. I think I need paperwork on. But how many times does the public come into the administration offices?
I
Just
don't know.
comes
I'm
in.
tucked in the corner in the back. I have more people coming in to drop off paperwork for application purposes. Volunteers, parents coming in to go through that service. I don't know how much traffic is at the front end of the office with regards to paying taxes or
Do people come in? Do you
What
know?
about vendors?
I'm not really sure.
Probably not very often.
Kenny will usually meet them off grounds,
For
depending
business
on.
related.
They're not coming out and making visits like they used to. They get they don't get very far with phone calls because the answer is we don't have any money. We'll
do we
call
have
you.
somebody out? Do we have somebody out front that buzzes people in? Because that's locked. That door's locked.
At
you know.
Amity Primary?
No,
Or,
no,
at
at
our, no, that door's no
upstairs.
longer locked.
Oh, it's not.
It's open.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you have a secretary out front?
No.
No.
We
So there's
just kind of
really
look
nobody to
around
kind
the
of
corner
track.
and see.
You know what? I
yeah.
do remember that
Yeah.
from when I walked
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
to file something. I forget
It's just more the people that are coming in, like I said, to drop off applications, come in and do clearances and volunteer and.
The problem is, how do you monitor it? I mean, whether you have one person a day or 50 people a day,
You don't know.
you got to have somebody there to.
You don't have any idea.
Right.
Right.
Here's something else. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, probably they're not needed very much, but when they are, they are.
Yeah.
You can't.
I mean, the only other thing would be, I mean, if you wouldn't, then you'd just have somebody sitting at the door closest to the area that was identified as the location for us to be working at. So that would be the other alternative.
Okay.
Here's something else I think we ought to put in the equation of this move. Are there any staff reductions or staff additions, one way or the other?
From within the district office?
Yeah.
I don't know how it would be. The jobs are completely different in what they're doing. They're very specific. When Mr. Seldenbridge did his assessment or evaluation of the office staff, he couldn't make any recommendations for the reduction of any of our office staff. I mean, Sandy's already way over. My secretary serves both myself and Kenny. So we're already utilizing her to the max. The other person that's outside of our office is working with child accounting and PIMS and all of the data types of things that go along with teachers and the students that are now a part of this whole school performance profile testing. It's, you know, all conjured through with how the PD is getting our information. So, and I believe that he, you know, he felt that somebody was going to be able to get, put some more responsibilities on with transportation, because I think they wanted to bring their routing back into. I
don't think that you guys don't. Kim did an analysis, a staffing analysis, and it was done before you guys came on the board. Mm-hmm. So I don't have my laptop, but I will.
Can somebody make a note and get that to us?
Yeah, I will look for that email when.
Because that's got to be part of the equation.
Right.
Well,
it wasn't part, and it wasn't part of the admin office move. It was just overall.
No.
Okay.
Right. When I came into the board, Dr. Otto was still here, and he brought us up to speed on a lot of things. So that was one of the main things that I asked Mr. Seldridge was, are we overstaffed or top-heavy on staff? And he said no. And when I asked him where we could save money, it was more in consolidation of how we administered money. Because we had some funds that were duplicated.
Okay.
And putting all that money together made it easier and more efficient to spend the money.
I know we're up against the time here.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd just like to add is with respect to this capital project, Kenny's guys are involved in this deeply. If we decide to go that way, right? They're going to be involved in it.
Oh, like a reserve study type
Yeah.
thing? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I would think they'd have to be.
Because obviously those guys are there every day. They're
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're our eyes and ears.
Oh, yeah.
And I do want to just mention too, and I guess just looking at stuff for next month and wrapping up. So the APC lease, I'll put out a summary to the board, but they'll have to talk about that. I mean, do we have a recommendation of whether or not we recommend trying to find somebody to help us lease it, or are we not there yet? I mean, do we want to throw out to them?
My opinion would be no. I think we got to have that conversation with the zoning people.
That's right. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you're going to talk to the zoning guy. I'll talk to the manager, and we can put that back on again next month. The boilers, you're going to try to get information on one.
Yep, got that.
Okay,
Yep.
for the 10th. The reserve study, I'll try to get a couple more of these. I'll work with. I'll try to identify a couple people and get them in touch with Kenny so he can get them the information.
And let me know. You need some help on that?
Okay.
Let me know.
Sure.
Give me a call.
Okay. Thanks. And then Mary Beth's going to try to get the information we talked about on the moves and contracting with movers, but prior to one of the board meetings, not for the next April, for the April meeting. Okay. But on the April meeting, I do want to talk about the lease of the stadium. I know that came up at the last meeting with the lights and all that. We should look at that again and make sure that.
It's that whole rate thing.
Yeah, but I mean we can't really do anything this year, but we should look at that for next year to make sure that we are covering
I'll
costs.
just give you a little bit of background. I mean, they approached us because they knew that we were a part in our budget, and they had an agreement with another school, and they were giving them money for turf use. And so they just approached me and said, would your school be interested in, our contract or our lease that we had with another school? And I'm like, sure, why not? I mean, it's pennies. Yeah. It's pennies when you're talking about the lighting. I mean, if you talk to Kenny, he could break it down.
But I just want to make sure, because I know lighting can get expensive. So
but not those.
If we have the numbers, we can put it to bed for people that are asking about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather than have to hear it again next year.
I think you and I feel the same way. I don't want to leave any money on the table.
Right. I don't care if we're making $5 off the deal. Mm-hmm. I'll take the $5. I just want to make sure that we can say, look, we're making $5. We know we're only making $5, and we don't really care. It's $5.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't. But I don't like that question of, are you losing money? And well, we can't really tell you because we don't know exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly.
So I'd like to go over that, and then also we can talk about the I know there were some questions too about the DVR and the camera system. Maybe he can just give us an overview of the whole system and what the annual or what the recurring charges are for that. And I think that's what I have. I don't. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to talk about? We can put on the agenda for the next facilities meeting. If you do, you can shoot me an email or something too if something comes up.
No, I just put it on my calendar.
Okay.
Otherwise, it won't fall.
All right.
Do we entertain questions?
Yes, sure. Sorry. Questions or comments from the public? No. Okay. Well, thanks for coming. We're gonna close that
scintillating
meeting.
meeting.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We'll close the facilities and in a minute or
Another
two
one.
start the revenue enhancement. Good. How are you doing? Sure.
Cameron, can I take this or leave it, or do you need it?
It's probably been out. I think this is probably. Yeah, we can get another one. If you want to take it,
Sure.
whatever, that's fine. Yeah.
I have one kept one for.
Okay, you
Penny's
kept one.
purposes.
Okay, that's fine.
So we can hang on to this?
If you want it, that's fine.
Yeah, I
sure.
think, well, I think he wanted two.
Oh, all right.
Here.
Well, here.
All right.
You can have that one
Okay.
back because I have it emailed. I think
All right.
so. Did I give you?
Yeah.
Well, I won't write on it in case somebody.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think we'll be okay with two. No, you can, do you want to keep it or do you want me to?
I have so much stuff.
All right, I'll take it back.
Keep it in a pristine condition.
It was 69.5, right?
69.
Yes. Let's see. I just have to pick this up and call. I don't have to actually.
Dial 9.
Oh, dial 9. Okay. Can I put? Let's see.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wants to. I wonder, will he know this number? Do you think?
He should.
Okay.
Hopefully. He should just answer his phone.
Well, I don't know if I didn't.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks, Larry.
Larry.
I didn't remind him, so I don't even know if he's around.
We have 3.
I have 3. I'm
I'm
not.
here for the next meeting.
Hi, Connor. It's Tamara. Hey. Yeah, but if you have time, if not, that's fine too. I forgot to email you and double check with you, so. Oh.